Did the Indiana Fever really lose Game 5, or were they robbed by officials who refused to let them win? Think about it. Aaliyah Boston fouled out late on what looked like a clean rebound. Kelsey Mitchell got hacked all night, cramped so badly she ended up in the hospital. Odyssey Sims absorbed hit after hit and still poured in 27. Yet every whistle leaned Vegas's way. If you honestly believe this game was fair, you probably weren't watching closely. This wasn't just a defeat. Indiana fought through chaos, injuries, and blown calls, only to have the series yanked away. And the question hanging in the air, what did Lexie Hull say after the heartbreak, after the theft, after the so-called loss? That's the story no one's letting slide. Drop your thoughts below on the ref's role in this series.
Like, this game between the adversity but also the resilience was just like a microcosm of this whole season. And did that, in a way, like, you're like, oh, we've been here before.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Steph said in the huddle. Like, we're built for this moment. When Kelsey went down, and then we're challenging the call on AB. We've been here before, so it's just so unlucky, so crazy that had to happen tonight.
What if the Fever's toughest opponent in this series wasn't the two-time champs at all, but the referees with their whistles? That's how it felt from the very start. From Game 1 on, a pattern emerged that fans couldn't ignore. Each time Indiana built momentum, the rhythm broke under calls that swung possessions back to Vegas. The tone was set early when Aaliyah Boston was whistled for touch fouls that wouldn't draw a flag in the NFL. Meanwhile, Kelsey Mitchell and Lexie Hull battled through defenders draped all over them. Yet whistles never came to be by the end of the first 3 games. The Fever weren't frustrated with their execution. They were frustrated with the officiating. And these weren't isolated errors. By Game 3, the imbalance was blatant. The free throw margin tilted heavily toward the Aces, gifting them not only easy points at the stripe, but also control of the game's energy. It's impossible to sustain defensive intensity when every contest ends with another foul that on the other end. Indiana absorbed near tackles in the paint without the same protection. Even head coach Stephanie White admitted afterward that the inconsistency made it almost impossible to scheme. How do you coach when one possession a screen is flagged illegal and the next it's ignored? The Fever weren't just playing Vegas. They were playing the whistle, too.
Ball goes up. Aaliyah Boston.
I don't think that's a foul.
Are you joking me?
Fans weren't blind, and before long, even national voices began saying it outright. What they saw looked like bias. Some went further, calling it special treatment for Aces stars. The numbers told the story: lopsided free throws, ignored contact, momentum-shifting whistles. It didn't look random. It looked like a trend that warped the balance of competition. By the end of Game 4, coincidence was no longer a defense. Indiana wasn't just battling Las Vegas. They were battling officiating that shoved them back at every turn. And if those first 4 games stung, Game 5 blew the frustration wide open.
It was rigged. Like, the Indiana Fever fought so hard, but like, they literally had 8 injured players. They had 8 injured players, and Aaliyah Boston fouled out for phantom fouls. And they still got to overtime. Like, you can't deny that. Like, you can't, like, the Indiana, they did everything in their power to try and rig that game in regulation. And Indiana just didn't go away.
Picture this. You're fighting for your season, yet every foul feels scripted against you. That was Game 5 for the Indiana Fever. It stopped being about play calls or execution. It became about surviving phantom whistles that funneled momentum back to the Las Vegas Aces. Still, Indiana refused to fold. Even with Kelsey Mitchell carried off the floor and Aaliyah Boston trapped in foul trouble, they clawed, battled, and somehow forced overtime. But no team can play 5-on-8 forever. The breaking point came in the second half. Boston was whistled for one of the softest moving screens imaginable. Watch the replay. She barely brushed the defender. Yet the whistle came instantly, like officials were waiting to pin her with another foul. Minutes later, Megan Gustafson threw herself to the floor in a flop worthy of a Hollywood reel. The crowd saw it, the cameras saw it, but the refs still rewarded her with an offensive foul against Boston. Those moments told the story. Indiana wasn't just up against the aces. They were up against officials determined to tilt the scales.
Do this. Just back her way down. Typically, players do not go down when she makes that contact here. Gustafson goes, gets the foul call.
As bad as it had been, the real gut punch came in crunch time. With 26 seconds left, Aaliyah Boston battled Jackie Young for a rebound and got whistled for her sixth foul. Just like that, she was done. The Fever challenged, begging officials to recognize what everyone else saw. Two players fighting for position. But the call stood. Young calmly drained the free throws, Vegas took the lead, and Indiana was forced to finish regulation without their all-star anchor.
Goes up. Aaliyah Boston.
I don't think that's a foul.
Kelsey Mitchell never even got the chance to impact those final minutes. She'd been battered all night, arms draped over her, hips knocking her off balance on every drive, yet no whistle. The abuse piled up. Even when Jewel Lloyd leveled Lexie Hull with a blatant shove, refs ignored it.
This is some bull crap. They're going to just shove Lexie Hull and then say that's a common foul. Like, this is not unnecessary force. Are you kidding me? If this how this game's going to go, like, I'm sick just watching Lexie Hull get beat up.
Natasha Howard took a swipe across the eyes. No whistle. Odyssey Sims absorbed hit after hit, even clipped on a drive in overtime, only to be ruled the aggressor. The stat sheet backed it up. 25 fouls pinned on Indiana, while Vegas practically set up camp at the free throw line all night.
Things I didn't like. Look at that. Smacked her arm and her entire body. Honestly, could have been a flagrant foul. Dang. And then, why do they hit Howard in the face, but they don't review these and give him technicals like they do on the Fever? And then we all saw that one. They called that a basketball play.
Aya Wilson alone earned 10 free throw attempts, while Aaliyah Boston, battling under the rim every trip, managed just 2. You don't need analytics to recognize that imbalance. Still, Indiana never folded. Short-handed, hammered by calls, and missing their anchor, they fought on. Odyssey Sims erupted for 27 points, dragging them back into a tie and forcing overtime. That rally wasn't the product of whistles keeping them alive. It was grit, will, and an absolute refusal to hand Vegas the win. It wasn't only resilience, it was defiance. And that defiance defined the Fever more than the final score ever could. What makes this team remarkable isn't simply that they endured questionable officiating, but that every single player carried fire into that run, turning adversity into fuel.
Sims, the push shot, banks in! It's a 2-point game!
Sometimes the truest victories aren't measured by the scoreboard, but by the heart a team leaves on the floor. Game 5 was framed as survival, yet it turned into something bigger, a stage for players who refused to let blown whistles define their fate. Their grit, toughness, and unity told a story far greater than the final score ever could.
Fire. She's our battery. She's moving great, and she will drive us, and that's been true so far.
Thank you, Hal. Sims, pull-up jumper, she got it.
Look no further than Odyssey Sims, a veteran who wasn't even on Indiana's roster most of the season, brought in on a late hardship contract, suddenly became the heartbeat of the series. In Game 5, she erupted for 27 points, dished 6 assists, and hit 50% from the floor. When the Fever's offense sputtered, Sims kept them alive, blowing past defenders who couldn't stay in front of her, finishing through heavy contact that refs refused to acknowledge. Her fearless drive in the final minute tied the game and pushed it into overtime, giving fans hope that, just maybe, the whistle wouldn't decide everything. Sims didn't just step up. She embodied the grit, toughness, and fire that kept Indiana alive when it mattered.
Ability to finish over smaller defenders.
Howard turns the corner, whips a pass. Hull gives it up. Sims connects on a 3. Odyssey Sims now with 12 points.
She reminded everyone why she's seen as one of the league's most dynamic guards. Before her body gave out midway through the third, she was unstoppable, dropping 15 points, drilling all 3 of her triples, and carving up a Vegas defense with no answers. Entering that semifinal as Indiana's offensive engine, she absorbed constant pounding on drives and cuts, yet never once backed down.
Can't hit the mid-range. Mitchell pursues the board. Another chance for Indiana. That's been a theme in the early going. Mitchell a three is good. More second chance point.
Right around the rim.
Mitchell an open look. She got it from three.
And again, back in his zone, that twofold.
Mitchell connects on a three.
Then came Aaliyah Boston, once again anchoring the front court in ways no stat sheet can capture. Limited by foul calls, she still scored, crashed the glass, and kept demanding touches inside. Possession after possession, she fought for space, absorbing pressure and wrestling for position to keep Indiana alive.
Lob it in, Boston. So effective in game 4. Trying to work Wilson on the follow. It's 3. Around and off. Howard trying to tip it. Able to scrape it away. Another extra possession for Indiana. Mitchell got space, didn't take. Boston lays it in.
Boston still stamped her impact on both ends, scoring in the paint and anchoring the defense until refs ended it with a harsh 6 foul in crunch time. That moment told the story. She was dominating, outworking everyone, only to have it stolen by a phantom whistle.
Here's Sims. Weaving. Hull dishing. Boston lays it in.